Okay, I know I said that the Spaceballs vs. Disaster movie video would be next, but I forgot to account for how long these things take to write, so here's this until then. Yeah. I love cartoons, and I'm sure most people here can agree as well. From childhood to adulthood, there have been many different forms of animated shows with memorable casts of characters being taken through different journeys, and we as the audience stuck around to see them. But there's one particular cartoon that stuck out to me as a kid, that being PBS Kids' masterpiece known as Arthur. For those of you unfortunate enough to have not seen it, Arthur was a slice-of-life cartoon show about an anthropomorphic aardvark named Arthur Reed, who lived in the small town of Elwood City, and, along with his friends and family, encouraged the audience to learn about various real-life issues. It ran for a whopping 25 seasons, and only concluded as recently as 2022, and even to this day it still has a big presence on the PBS channel itself. Yet, despite how much of an impact Arthur had on television and cartoons as a whole, Arthur surprisingly has not been used much in rap battles. Which is strange because there's so many iconic characters you can work with when it comes to the series. Luckily, there does exist one out there, featuring the bespectacled aardvark himself against another slice-of-life cartoon character, Arnold Shortman, from the Nickelodeon cartoon Hey Arnold. And hosting it is one of the more classic rap battle channels out there, Epic Rap Battles of Cartoons. Now, I'll admit I haven't watched Hey Arnold, so my knowledge on him is pretty limited, but I have watched more than enough episodes of Arthur to get enough of a grasp on the matchup. Let's not waste any more time. This is Arthur vs. Arnold by Epic Rap Battles of Cartoons.
Epic Rap Battles of Cartoons. Arthur Reed versus Arnold Shortman.
Not seeing Reed or Shortman in the title cards, but okay.
Begin.
Hey, it used to be a wonderful day until a kilt-wearing football was thrown in my way.
So right off the bat, I have both some compliments and some criticisms. Complimenticisms? First, the audio. I really like this beat. It's catchy and fits the tone of both the characters, like a good beat should do. It's the impressions that I'm not a fan of. No offense to the VAs, I get that these characters are children and it's hard to convincingly voice a child, but this just does not sound like Arthur at all. Even with the accuracy aside, the voices here are much too deep and don't match the characters' faces. It's like having Zac Efron voice a 12-year-old. Next, the editing. It's different from how most ERBA cartoons use direct footage of the rappers' respective cartoons, basically having them be AMVs. Here, it uses PNGs of the characters controlled by the puppet tool, moving on a solid background. On the one hand, it is very fluid and clean looking, making for some good and unique visuals, and it does give more freedom for the type of editing you want, rather than having to rely on matching cartoon clips. On the other hand, though, it does kind of look rough around the edges at times, mainly due to some of the PNGs being too low quality or out of focus, or having the character's outfit suddenly change mid-verse. And this is a small nitpick, but the shadow behind Arthur looks weird as well. I know the background behind him is supposed to be his house, but the way the shadow appears off of it kinda breaks the illusion and makes the background look more like a solid wall. It's good for the most part, just has a couple issues.
Both our shows aired on the same day in '96. But remind me, which premiere truly became a mighty hit?
Decent line and a good comparison, but it's just slightly brought down by the misspelling of the word mighty in the subtitles.
Not the world's greatest gleeper who just took my design just to get a slice of the slice-of-life pot pie.
So I had to ask Matthew what a world's greatest gleeper was, and apparently it was an episode of Arthur. In the cafeteria, Arthur and Buster sit at the only available lunch table with the tough customers, who tease Arthur and say that they bet he's never even gleeped anything. Buster claims that Arthur has gleeped lots of stuff to stop the teasing, only for the two of them to find out later from Brain that gleep means steal. Which I guess does make this line make sense, but it's still worded kinda weirdly if you don't know the context. Also, wait, you just said your shows came out on the same day. How can he be a ripoff of you if that's the case? Alright, I know I already picked on Arthur's voice, but I'm just gonna look up what Arnold sounds like.
You're not too old, Grandpa, and you've still got plenty of brain cells.
I'm crazy, and you should never hit a crazy person.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, but being honest, aside from the voice, I don't have much to criticize in this verse. It's for the most part pretty solid.
Always dreaming of becoming a celebrity. Well, peep this. You'll never be popular if you're born on the geeklet.
Arthur isn't exactly unpopular in Elwood City. I mean, sure, he's not the most top-tier character. That will go to Buster because he's based. But the guy has multiple friends and a loving family. He's not an outcast. Unless you were talking about his show's popularity, in which case you're way wrong.
I can tell you're gonna mumble in your verse right after, cause you dropped the ball harder than all of my voice act.
Alright, while I do think the way this part is edited is pretty cool, I think this line would have made more sense if he had said, you're gonna fumble in your verse, because that way the dropped the ball part in the next line would have had more of a connection and had the line make more sense.
Oh, Arnold, your series isn't even worth the bother.
Filler line is filler, moving on.
While you were at Jump Street, I made friends with Mr. Rogers.
Again, decent line, but it's a bit of a weird editing choice having Mr. Rogers himself be 2D while his arm is realistic. What, is Mr. Rogers secretly half human, half cartoon? In this episode of Film Theory, I will...
You came up short, man. Like Binky, you can't throw hands.
He says next to a video of Binky, in fact, throwing hands.
I'ma leave you like your parents alone with your...
Okay, this line's just weird to me. Arthur threatens his opponent by saying that he's going to leave him alone. What a savage insult. Gosh, I may be starting to see why Arnold said Arthur belongs in the geek list. Alright, again I had to ask Matthew what this line meant, and this was his response. Which, again, I guess makes sense when you know the context, but without knowing that, it just sounds weirdly worded. I'm all for clever wordplay mixed with references to the source material, but there's also a question to ask yourself when it comes to writing this sort of thing. That being, will this make sense to the audience? Because if you focus too much on the wordplay being clever without thinking if it makes sense, then the original context of the joke would become lost. It's, ironically, over-egging the tapioca. Granted, this isn't too bad of an example, I've seen much worse, but it's still something to think about.
That belittling was worse than when you hit your little sis. I might as well call this Arthur's big...
Well, good thing Helga was there, or else YouTube would have demonetized this video in a heartbeat. So that was Arthur vs. Arnold by Epic Rap Battles of Cartoons, and for what it was pretty alright. Aside from a couple oddly worded lines and the frankly subpar impressions, it was otherwise solid. Good beat, clean editing, decent lyrics, and overall not a bad usage of Arthur himself. For something that was meant to be as a simple bonus battle, it was an enjoyable watch, and for that, I give it a solid 7 out of 10. Matthew, if you're seeing this, thanks for letting me review this. I really do respect you as a content creator, and I hope to see more stuff from you in the future. Also to everyone else, sorry this was much shorter than my last review video. I'm still working on the Spaceballs video. It'll come when it's ready. This was just something quick I wanted to throw out to see how it works. Not entirely sure if I'll do more in the future, but if you have any ideas, please let me know and I might check them out if I have the time. Till next time, thank you, and good night.
And I say, it's a simple message, and it comes from the heart. Believe in yourself, for that's the place to start. And I say, believe in yourself. And I say, you can fly. Believe in yourself. And I say, you can fly. Believe in yourself. And I say, you can fly. Believe in yourself. And I say,